This video I'll show you how to use the icon maker. You open it through the menu under Window, Icon Maker, and then you choose a folder where the icons will be saved to. For example, I've chosen the temp folder, which I created here. The first option in here is the icon size. That's the width and height of the icon. You can choose to make it non-readable, which is normally the option you might want. You can add a value for anti-aliasing like 2, 4, or 8. You can choose a background color, and you can set the alpha to 0 if you want translucent images like this, for example. You can choose whether the camera that is generating this icon or rendering it will be orthographic or not. And then you might want to add a light source so that you can set how bright this icon is going to be generated, the color used. Normally shadows is not needed, so you can just leave that to none. This preview size is just this icon over here. Render mask is basically the layer that the image, that the 3D object is in. So, for example, let's say we want to generate an icon from this headquarters object. Let me just put it in here, you can see. So this is in the Buildings layer. Now, depending on your setup, it's actually a bad example. Let's try something else. Where did I put those? Alright, so this object, for example, has some helper objects inside of it. For example, this nav mesh cube, and that's in a different layer. So I wouldn't want that rendered to my icon. I only want the actual thing that's going to be viewed. For example, the building, the actual 3D object that I want, can see in the scene, and then obviously then I can choose that through this drop down, any kind of layer you want. This direction is let me just quickly refresh. Let's try something else. Let's try the house. This is basically a forward direction, if you can think of it like that. So, for example, if I just enter +1, you can see it actually flips around like that, and then on the z-axis you can do the same. So you can basically just mess with this to change the viewpoint of your icon. Normally values like 1 and -1 is used here, and you might view it from the top or the bottom like that by messing with the y value. Also, what I normally like to do is create a temporary scene and then set it to a 1:1 aspect ratio. That basically gives me a nice preview of what it will end up being in the icon. And then when I mess around with values here, I can actually see it in real time happening over here. So yeah, the next one, offset. That and padding basically works together. So padding is like how close and far it comes from the camera, but you can also change it a little bit more. So for example, if it's too much to the right or left, you can change this one and this one here. And you can also change the height, or like that. And yeah, and then you can obviously, like, you see what this model looks like without the floor. It's actually a bit down here that I might not actually want in the icon, and that's why I've added this floor option here. And of course, if you enable something like that, you need to press refresh just to get it in the scene. And it's basically just these objects being created here in the scene. And now you can move it around and scale it and so on the way you want it, and then you press refresh. Every time you press refresh, it will basically regenerate the icon that ends up being here like that. And then you can obviously just go set it as a sprite, and it looks like that. It's also you can obviously, as you've seen, I've basically just dragged it in here, so you can, for example, keep dragging objects in here. There's more space for the next one. But every time you press refresh, it's just the active one that's being refreshed. So here you can go to next. It's erroring out. I guess there's not really info in these objects I've added, but whatever, doesn't matter. Let me just replace them with something that actually has info. So like that, for example, and then you press next to go to that one and so on. There's another one of those. Also, you can do a add from folder. So if I had a bunch of 3D objects, say for example, I want to generate everything from my Baldwins folder, then I just go add folder, navigate to that folder, and then all those objects will be added here, and then I can just press the all button, and that will just go through everything and generate all the icons for me. Yeah, and I think that's basically all there is to know about this.